The day I died was supposed to be my ending. Instead, it became the beginning of someone else's story. Mine again, but not quite mine. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in a hospital bed or a white void. I was in a wheelchair. My name was no longer what it used to be. In this world, I was Lucas Miller, the spoiled, arrogant heir of a fallen empire, and the tragic supporting character in a CEO romance novel I'd once read. And sitting across from me, with her cold, perfect face and eyes that held not even a hint of warmth, was my wife, Olivia Summers. She crossed her arms, her voice steady and beautiful, yet cutting like glass. Ethan's back. You have to divorce me, whether you like it or not. Ethan, her old flame, the male lead. I looked down at the divorce agreement she handed me, half expecting to see something dramatic or cruel. But instead, what caught my eye was the number written beside the word alimony, $8 million. My fingers froze mid-air. $8 million. In my past life, I'd never even seen that much money. Not even if I'd worked every day until my hair turned gray. Are you serious? I muttered. Olivia's brow furrowed slightly, probably mistaking my shock for heartbreak. But inside, I was already screaming. I was about to become rich. Without hesitation, I picked up the pen and signed my name in bold strokes. Then, almost giddy, I pushed myself up from the wheelchair. All right, I said cheerfully. So are we heading to the courthouse now? Her eyes widened. You're standing? Didn't you break your leg? I looked down. My legs didn't hurt at all. I could have danced right there. I guess it healed, I said casually. Miracles happen. Olivia looked completely thrown off. A few days ago, Lucas, the old Lucas, had threatened to jump off a building when she mentioned divorce. Now, here he was, smiling and ready to file papers. If you love someone, I said softly, forcing a touch of melancholy into my voice, you have to let them go. Her confusion deepened. Before she could say anything more, her phone rang. Her tone softened immediately as she answered, Ethan, yes, I'll be there soon. I watched her, the tenderness in her voice twisting something in my chest. The old Lucas had worshipped her, chasing her shadow, begging for crumbs of affection. But me? I was just waiting for the $8 million to hit my account. The next morning, I walked into the dining room and found them together, Olivia and Ethan, hand in hand. When she noticed me, she quickly pulled her hand away, guilt flickering across her perfect features. Ethan, on the other hand, smirked. So, he said smoothly, still clinging on, haven't signed the papers yet? I took a sip of milk and said flatly, I signed them yesterday. He didn't believe me. His smirk widened. You're pathetic. A second later, his hand slipped, and milk splashed across his own face. He gasped dramatically. Olivia rushed over instantly. Lucas, what are you doing? I blinked, stunned. What? He did it himself. Apologize, she snapped. I laughed bitterly. Apologize my ass. I said I didn't do it. Ethan gave her a heroic little smile, wiping his face. It's fine, Olivia. Don't be mad. He didn't mean it. Her anger flared hotter. Lucas, get out. Fine. I grabbed a sandwich and an egg from the table. Gladly. As I walked out, I thought grimly. The sooner I leave, the sooner I get that money. That evening, I found myself at a bar, legs crossed, a drink in hand, and two beautiful women laughing beside me. For the first time since my reincarnation, I felt free. Then, a familiar voice drifted over my shoulder. Well, Lucas Miller drinking alone? Did your wife finally throw you out? It was Ashley Green, Olivia's rival in business and beauty. Her eyes sparkled with amusement as she crossed her arms. What would Olivia say if she knew her husband was here? With company? She teased. Please, I said, raising my glass lazily. Go ahead and tell her. Maybe it'll make her file the papers faster. Her smirk faltered for a second. You've changed, she murmured. People do, I said. Especially when they're about to make $8 million. Ashley laughed softly. You're unbelievable. Maybe, but I'm also broke, I added with a grin. Mind paying the bill? She stared at me like she couldn't tell if I was serious. I was. After a long pause, she sighed and waved for the waiter. Fine, but you owe me dinner. The next day, Olivia called. My mom knows we're divorcing. She's upset. Come with me to see her tomorrow. I hesitated. We're about to divorce, Olivia. It's awkward. Her voice softened. Please, just once, I sighed. Give me the Ferrari, and I'll think about it. There was silence, then a quiet, okay. Her mother's home was small and warm, a stark contrast to Olivia's cold mansion. The table was covered with dishes, my supposed favorites. Lucas, you've gotten thinner, her mother said fondly, piling food onto my plate. Eat more, I smiled, genuinely touched. You too, Mom. Her face lit up. Don't worry, I'll always see you as my son-in-law. As for those other men, she shot Olivia a pointed look. They can forget it, I glanced at Olivia. For the first time since my reincarnation, she looked uncertain. And for a fleeting moment, I wondered if maybe, just maybe, this story wasn't quite as simple as I thought. The dinner at Olivia's mother's house had been awkward, to say the least. Her mother, Mrs. Summers, was nothing like her daughter. Warm, talkative, and honest to a fault. She treated me like family, calling me my son every time she smiled. To her, I was dependable. More dependable than Ethan ever could be. Lucas, she said after a long sigh. I know my daughter is being unreasonable, but you've been good to her. Please don't argue with her, all right? I gave a quiet smile. Don't worry, Mom. I'd never argue with Olivia. Of course, I wouldn't. Not with $8 million waiting for me. A few minutes later, Olivia came back in from outside, clearly after escorting Ethan away. Her mother's face hardened the moment she saw her. If you want to be with that Ethan, she said sharply, then forget you ever had a mother. Olivia froze, guilt flickering in her eyes, but she didn't dare to answer. I stayed silent, quietly eating my rice. No point adding fuel to the fire. When dinner finally ended, we left. The moment we sat in the car, I turned to her. Nothing else now, right? Let's just go get the divorce certificate. She fastened her seatbelt, not looking at me. Already? Why wait? I said lightly. Besides, let's not tell your mom for now. She's a great cook. I can still visit sometimes, keep her company. That made her pause. When she turned to look at me, her brows furrowed slightly, suspicion clouding her beautiful face. You've changed since you fell down those stairs, she said slowly, almost like she was trying to figure me out. I laughed softly, touching the bridge of my nose. Didn't you always hate how clingy I was? Guess I finally learned to let go. That's a good thing, right? But then, as I looked at her under the soft evening light, I couldn't resist teasing. Or wait. Don't tell me you've fallen in love with me now and don't want the divorce? She frowned immediately, disgust flashing in her eyes. Don't be so narcissistic. How could I possibly fall for you? I smiled inwardly. Reverse psychology works every time. The next morning, we went to the marriage registration office. Just as we got out of the car, Olivia's phone rang. Ethan's name flashed across the screen. Her face paled. Ethan, what happened? After a brief pause, she gasped. I'll be right there. She turned, ready to run back to the car, but I caught her hand. We're already here, I said firmly. Let's get the divorce done first. You can go after that. I mean, if you show up with the divorce certificate, he might be so happy he heals faster. She hesitated, then sighed. For once, she didn't shake off my hand. A few people ahead of us, some paperwork, a few signatures later, and it was done. As she stood there, staring at the document in silence, I could almost feel the tension rolling off her. She was probably thinking about Ethan. I leaned close and said lightly, Don't worry. He's the male lead. He's not dying that easily. Olivia turned to look at me then, her eyes dark and unreadable. A strange silence passed between us before she finally picked up the pen and signed. When the bank notification chimed on my phone moments later, I nearly shouted in joy. $8 million. I wanted to buy fireworks and set them off right there in the parking lot. You're going to see Ethan, right? I asked casually. I'll take a taxi home. But just as I turned to leave, she called out, Lucas Miller. I stopped, glancing over my shoulder. You seem very happy. To be divorcing me, she said softly, narrowing her eyes. I almost laughed. Was she serious? She'd been forcing this divorce for weeks. Now that she got it, she was upset I wasn't crying. We're divorced, Olivia, I said calmly. There's no point pretending anymore. I sincerely wish you and Ethan a lifetime of happiness, and maybe a dozen kids. Without waiting for her reaction, I walked off. Freedom had never felt so good. The first thing I did as a free man was spend money. I went to the mall, swiping my card like a king, not even looking at the prices. New clothes, shoes, watches, whatever caught my eye. For the first time in both my lives, I felt alive. Then, as I stepped out with bags in both hands, I heard a familiar, amused voice. Well, well, look who's living his best life. Ashley Green. Her crimson lipstick, the playful smirk. It all screamed trouble. Don't tell me, she teased. You're out buying gifts for Olivia again? I lifted one of the bags and grinned. Nope, these are for me. Then dramatically I pulled out the divorce certificate and waved it. I'm a free man now. Ashley's brows shot up, but then a small smile curved her lips. I thought you'd be hung up on her forever. Please, I scoffed. I'm done being some lovesick fool. Olivia's strong and cold, definitely not my type. She tilted her head. Didn't you say you owed me dinner? There's a new restaurant nearby. You're buying, I groaned. I had said that. Thinking about the bar bill she'd covered last time, I had no choice but to agree. The restaurant was fancy. Maybe too fancy. Ashley ordered like she owned the place. Lobster, black truffle steak, caviar. My heart sank with each dish. That's enough, I said quickly, snatching the menu. I'm on a diet, she laughed, amused. You're so stingy. Didn't you spend $100,000 at the bar last time? That was different, I protested. I'm unemployed now. You're the rich one. Still, I ate and drank. By the end of the night, I was full, tipsy, and a little too comfortable. The next morning, I woke up to find someone lying next to me. When I turned and saw Ashley, I nearly fell off the bed. She sat up, rubbing her eyes. Why are you on the floor? Did we... I stammered. She rolled her eyes. No, you were drunk. I just let you sleep here. Relief flooded me. Looking around, I realized her place was huge. Modern, elegant, and expensive. Ashley stretched and said, You were looking for a place, right? You can stay here temporarily, I blinked. For free? She smirked. Not exactly. My dad's been forcing me to go on blind dates. Pretend to be my boyfriend for a month, and you can stay here rent-free. I grinned. Just acting, right? No. Other requirements? She threw a pillow at me. Don't flatter yourself. Well, it was a good deal. And she was fun to be around. I agreed. Later that day, I went back to Olivia's villa to pack up my things. There wasn't much, just some documents and clothes. As soon as I opened the door, I froze. Ethan was walking down the stairs in a bathrobe, looking annoyingly healthy. Didn't he almost die yesterday? When he saw me, he smirked, acting like the man of the house. Bring some tea for our guest, he told the maid. I ignored him and turned to head upstairs, just as Olivia appeared. She looked surprised to see me, then quickly glanced at Ethan. We were just talking about work, she said hastily. It got late, so he stayed over. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, I see, I said flatly. Late-night business meetings in bathrobes. Very professional. Her cheeks flushed, but she didn't respond. For a moment, none of us said anything, only silence thick enough to choke on. And for the first time since the divorce, I realized the real story was only just beginning. Careful, Lucas said quietly, his tone flat and detached. We're divorced, Olivia. You don't have to tell me these things anymore. You can be with whoever you want. Olivia froze. For a moment, she just stared at him, her expression tightening as if she hadn't expected such coldness. But Lucas didn't wait for her to answer. He turned around, went straight to his room, packed his things, and walked out. She followed him to the gate, her voice softer now. Do you want me to have someone drive you back? He looked at her, genuinely confused. Did you forget? You gave me the Ferrari in the garage. I've got my own ride. Olivia blinked, a little startled. Right, I must have forgotten. Been too busy lately, she seemed different. Not her usual composed, distant self. For a moment, Lucas thought she might actually be sad. But he brushed off the thought and left. 2 days later was the Green family's grand banquet, Ashley's grandfather's birthday. Ashley had asked Lucas to attend as her boyfriend, part of their little arrangement. When they entered the hall, hand in hand, every head turned. Lucas had once belonged to this glittering world of wealth and power, but now he was an outsider, a fallen star returning to orbit. The whispers were loud, the curiosity even louder. Ashley introduced him to her grandfather with an elegant smile. "Grandpa, this is Lucas, my boyfriend." To Lucas's surprise, the old man didn't sneer or question him. Instead, he smiled warmly, nodding in approval. "A fine young man," Grandpa Green said. "Good eyes, steady hands." Then came the parade of introductions. Uncles, aunts, cousins, business associates. Lucas played his part perfectly. His charm, his confidence. It was all an act, but a convincing one. Later, when they finally got a moment alone, Lucas leaned close to Ashley and murmured, "You're really pushing it, you know. When the truth comes out in a month, what are you going to tell them? Especially your grandpa?" Ashley smirked and took a sip of champagne. "We'll deal with that later." Her tone was calm, unfazed. He shrugged, fine by him. He could move out any time. He didn't expect Olivia to show up that night. She arrived in a silver gown, perfectly poised, holding a gift for Grandpa Green. Their eyes met across the room, hers uncertain, his unreadable. And when she noticed Ashley's hand curled around his arm, the sweetness in her smile faltered just slightly. Later, when Ashley was called away by her grandfather, Olivia approached him. "Are you with Ashley?" Lucas looked up from his glass. "Yeah." Her face darkened. "Do you even know what she's doing? She's only using you to get back at me." Before he could reply, Ashley returned, her voice sharp and amused. "You really think everything's about you, Olivia?" Olivia's eyes flashed. "Don't think I don't know your game, Ashley. You're doing this on purpose. You think you can get to me through him? It won't work." Lucas sighed internally. He was already divorced. Why did she care who he was with? "Miss Summers," he said coolly, deliberately formal, "you're overthinking things. Ashley and I are a perfect match." Olivia's expression froze. He'd called her Miss Summers, not Olivia. "Not Liv, Miss Summers. Lucas Miller," she said tightly. "Wasn't the money I gave you enough? You have to be with her too?" He gave a careless shrug. "Miss Summers, I'm just your ex-husband. You don't have to worry about my life anymore." Her lips trembled, but she turned and walked away before he could see her tears. Life after that was comfortable. Lucas slept late, drove his Ferrari, attended parties with Ashley, and enjoyed the kind of lazy luxury he'd never had before. But one night, on his way out of a bar, he caught sight of Ethan, Olivia's new husband. Ethan was drunk, arms wrapped around another woman, his laughter loud and vulgar. So much for true love. Lucas didn't bother to intervene. He'd predicted this the moment Olivia married him. Ethan had always been after her money. When Lucas left the bar later that night, he spotted Olivia outside. She and Ethan were arguing by the curb. Ethan shoved her aside, climbed into a car with the same woman, and drove off. Olivia stood frozen under the pale moonlight, her eyes glistening with tears. For a long moment, Lucas said nothing. She looked small, broken even, but he felt nothing. Still, when their eyes met, he couldn't pretend he hadn't seen her. "Hey," he said quietly. She blinked, surprised. "Lucas." He gave a faint smile. "How have you been?" She hesitated, then whispered, "I'm planning to divorce Ethan." He frowned. "Why are you telling me this?" Her voice trembled. "Because I realized the person I truly love is you, Lucas. I regret it. I shouldn't have divorced you." She stepped closer, eyes shining with tears. "I know you still love me. Can we start over after I leave him?" His reply was immediate. "No." Her tears spilled, but she forced a smile. "It's okay. I know you're angry with me. I'll wait." Lucas didn't answer, but her words echoed in his mind the entire drive home. Ashley was waiting for him, sitting on the sofa with a bottle of wine. When he walked in, she waved him over. You're back. Come drink with me. He sat beside her, intending to talk about Olivia, but one drink turned into two, and soon they were both asleep on the couch. The next morning, the doorbell woke him. He rubbed his eyes and opened the door, only to find Olivia standing there, smiling sweetly, holding a bag. I brought breakfast, she said softly. Steamed buns and soy milk. You still like those, right? Before he could respond, a sleepy voice called from inside. Who's that? Ashley appeared, wearing one of his shirts, her hair a mess. She slipped an arm around his waist and mumbled, You were so rough last night I can barely move. The paper bag fell from Olivia's hands. The buns hit the ground, soy milk spilling across the tiles. Her face went white. You're living with her? Ashley leaned closer, smirking. This is my house. You're welcome to look around if you don't believe me. Olivia's lip trembled. She turned back to Lucas, eyes red. Lucas, is there really no chance between us? He sighed. Be realistic, Olivia. If Ethan hadn't cheated, you wouldn't be here right now. You don't love me. You're just hurt. She shook her head desperately. No, Lucas. I do love you. I realized it too late. When we divorced, I hesitated. I couldn't bear to let you go. He exhaled deeply. Thank God we divorced when we did. Olivia, he said gently. I can't live revolving around you anymore. You saw it yourself. Ashley and I are happy. Her tears came harder now. But Lucas didn't reach out this time. He simply closed the door. Upstairs, Ashley was standing by the vanity, applying her skincare. She didn't look at him when he entered. I thought you were leaving with her, she said coldly. He smiled faintly. Ashley. She turned, surprised that he'd used her name like that. Don't tell me, she said, voice shaking a little. You want to get back together with Olivia? Before she could say another word, he leaned in and kissed her forehead. Her breath caught. What are you doing? She stammered. Lucas chuckled softly. Miss Ashley Green, he said, smiling for real this time. I'm formally asking, will you be my girlfriend? She froze, then blushed so hard she couldn't speak. Finally, she punched his arm. You're so annoying. Think before you answer. Do you like me or not? I hate you, he teased. I hate you so much. She snapped. Then go find Olivia. He turned, pretending to walk away. All right, I will. Ashley's eyes widened. She rushed over, grabbed his ear, and hissed, If you dare, I'll break your leg. He laughed. Okay, I don't dare. She realized he was teasing and flushed even deeper, hugging him suddenly. Do you like me? He smiled, pulling her close. I do. With Ashley, life was simple. She was stubborn, fiery, but real. Months later, news spread that Ethan had finally drained Olivia dry. He cheated, partied, lived off her money until she sued him and won the divorce. The day she got her freedom, she showed up again. Lucas, she said breathlessly, I'm divorced. Come back to me, please. He looked at her for a long moment. Olivia, I don't love you anymore. I never really did. The man who loved you, he doesn't exist now. Ashley arrived just then, and he took her hand. Ashley and I are getting married. Olivia's voice cracked. You're getting married? He nodded. Yes, please don't come looking for me again, she cried. But he walked past her, hand in hand with Ashley. Outside, Ashley glanced back at the woman still standing there. You lied about the wedding, didn't you? If we don't actually get married, she'll just keep chasing you. Lucas stopped, turned to face her, and smiled faintly. Who said I was lying? Before she could speak, he dropped to one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. Ashley gasped, covering her mouth. Lucas, what are you? Ashley Green, he said softly. Will you marry me? Tears filled her eyes. Yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and she threw her arms around him. The wedding wasn't grand, but it was beautiful. They laughed, danced, and built a life together that was finally peaceful. A year later, Lucas opened a restaurant, his dream project. It thrived. Ashley, 5 months pregnant, often sat by the window while he worked, glowing with happiness. Sometimes Olivia came by quietly. She'd order coffee, say nothing, and just watch. Until one day, she saw him gently helping Ashley walk down the steps, his hand resting protectively on her belly. That was the moment it hit her, completely and painfully. He wasn't hers anymore. He never would be. Tears filled her eyes as she turned and walked away, disappearing into the rain. And that was the last time Lucas ever saw Olivia Summers.